Welcome to another episode of Horizon Next, where we delve into the intricacies of modern living. Today's topic hits home for many of us, and today's topic is the art of juggling, work-life balance, and beyond. And I'm your host Akshay, and I have here two incredible guests for the day. So our first guest is Shipra Rai, Vice President of People Operations at Nivea Solutions. She's been a HR professional for over many years now, with her expertise in dealing with issues related to productivity and work-life balance. So welcome to the show, Shipra. Our second guest for the day is Ashwati Nair. She's a manager of HR operations at Nivea Solutions, and she has excelled both in her career and also in her personal life. So, welcome to the show, Ashwati. So, Shipra, could you please tell us what is the concept of work-life balance in today's fast-paced world, and what are the challenges that individuals are currently facing?
Sure, Akshay. So I think the way I would like to, deal with it is first address the whole concept of work-life balance. So in today's environment, what we're seeing is that there are, many different schools of thoughts that are actually, coming across with regards to work-life balance. But I think predominantly there are three that really stand out. The first one is clearly, work-life balance, bifurcations and distinctions being, clearly set, where we're saying that boundaries need to be, attached to, your work life as well as, how you move into your personal space. The second one is that, does the concept of work life balance really exist for people who come with a higher purpose, where, the purpose of, achieving something greater in life really, diminishes the concept of work life balance. And there is really, no barrier or boundary that they have to cross when it comes to, what their personal spaces and what their professional spaces. And I think the third one, which really personally resonates with me, is the concept that Simon Sinek was, talking about. And he says that the whole concept of work-life balances needs to be debunked because, when you say work-life balance, balance is something that happens with opposing forces. And should work-life really be opposing or should it be complementary, right? So it's extremely important that individuals look at how the fluidity of their transition from work and life happens, rather than setting very rigid boundaries and saying that this is work, or rather set time for work, or this has to be my personal space. Why can't they be complementary and interchangeable through the process of the day, which makes it a lot more less rigid, lot more less presumptuous, and helps an individual to actually take on more than really kind of compartmentalizing things.
Okay, so now that you've put some light on what is a work-life balance, right? So, what do you think are the challenges that currently people would be facing?
I think the biggest challenge that most of us face in the current world is the ability to prioritize. With so many things pulling us in varied directions, it's extremely important for us to understand where our priorities kind of lie at different junctures, not just in life but in a day. So be it your need for digital distraction, be it your commitment in terms of deadlines, professionally, be it your personal demands that your family or your loved ones or your friends kind of levy on you. Or I think the ability to kind of take some time out for yourself and recharge when that need is really there. People need to understand the specific requirement at that point in their life, and need to learn how to prioritize on things, because I think that's the biggest challenge that all of us kind of face today, where we want to do everything, do it well, and do it now. So I think if people are able to kind of address the challenge of prioritizing their life, I think to quite an extent it should be addressed in terms of the challenge of work life.
Yes, even in terms of prioritizing, even I've seen people like you've said that people have to prioritize their family and also work and also their personal space, right? So I think when they want to do it all together, the priority between the family and their own space, I think that again is a clash over there. So Ashwati, Would you mind sharing a personal experience of how you have been balancing, the work-life balance? How do you do it?
Certainly, Akshay, it's a very good question. And I think we've all been there at some point of our career where we had to manage multiple things. I remember that few months ago, I was juggling between, taking care of multiple responsibilities at office and managing for my family responsibilities back home. First and foremost requirement I feel is setting the priorities right and establishing a clear and a healthy boundary between your life and your home. I mean, your home and your work. Uh, the second key aspect I would point out is how efficiently and effectively you are able to manage your time. See, we are all working for an industry which is highly demanding and which has very competitive deadlines. So, while we ensure that we keep up the deadlines and diligently do our tasks on time, it's really important for us to allocate some time to ourselves and to our family while doing so. Also, another aspect which I feel most of us forget to bring is whenever we undergo a work-life balance, it's really important to go talk to the person who can, help us to tackle that problem. So I find that these days people hesitate to go back to the person. It may be somebody who is in power to help you with it, or it can be your manager, or it can be your colleague who can help you with this task. So those are aspects which I think has helped me, smoothly pass the era of multitasking between home and work.
So it's more like you need to have a friendly environment as well to balance both the ends, both at home and also in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, Shipra, we spoke about having boundaries between work and personal life, right? So, that was pre-pandemic. I think it was all different because office was a different place, and like geographically, office was different and home was different. So the boundaries would have been much easier for people to maintain. But post-pandemic, we got a new concept like work from home, right? So it was two things happening in one place. So the boundaries, I think, they get a little blurry, and people. How do people manage when those thick boundaries got suddenly blurred up, and everything's happening at once? So how do you think people can maintain that?
I think it's a very, very valid question, and I think a large part of the working population is trying to grapple with this whole setting the right boundaries, right? It's very, very important for people to exercise the power of intent. So they have to intentionally kind of take on an activity or a task, and I think it starts first with the having a conversation with your family and setting those boundaries, right? Because when you're sitting and working from home, you're actually working from home, and it's not that you're available for the other household related tasks. It is very similar to you not being available when you are in office. It's a similar kind of a concept, right? The second is ensuring that you have a designated space. You kind of create an environment where you feel encouraged and you feel like working, because at the end of the day it's a change of place. You are alone, you don't have the proximity of your colleagues to nudge you to kind of do things on your own, give you solutions to issues and problems that you would encounter, right? So creating a space which would be an office space is extremely important. And I think it's also crucial for people to not be extremely rigid when it comes to okay, this is the time that I'm going to work, this is the time that I'm going to be getting off work. Like I mentioned to you in my earlier response to your question, right, where it's extremely important to maintain that fluidity so that you don't feel constricted, you don't feel extremely rigid and bogged down by these virtual boundaries that you put for yourself. It should be an experience that should complement in terms of your work and your personal space. So to answer your question, I think the power of intention, setting clear expectations with family, ensuring that you very clearly create a space for yourself where you feel encouraged to work, and ensuring that you exercise fluidity and not be too rigid. These are the things I would say would certainly help people.
I had observed with the freshers, in fact, after the COVID, when they get work from home, they have this risk of their personal and the professional life getting all mingled up.
So for the latter, most of them have at least a reference point as to what an office environment really feels like. But unfortunately, for a lot of freshers, they've never experienced the office. They don't know, how it is to work with, peers and colleagues. How is it that they can, sort of do the problem solving? That whole collaborative approach itself is something that not, I wouldn't say it's missing, but, they've not had the opportunity to experience. So I think that really makes a huge difference. So you're right when you say the kind of challenges that somebody who's just about beginning their career and somebody who's had a few years of experience is quite different from one another.
Ashwati, I would like to ask you this question, right? So, speaking of new experience for freshers, individuals who have been working for over the years, eventually they start a family of their own, they become parents. So, being a parent itself, it's a whole new experience for any individual. It's a big responsibility. How do individuals take care of this responsibility and also their professional responsibilities that they're already committed to? So, you also have a family of your own, I mean, both of you. So, how do you do it?
It's a challenge, Akshay, which many can relate to. I think modern life itself is a juggling act where you're trying to get a balance between life and work. The role of parent itself is adding another, dimension to it, another plate that you need to spin. So no matter how late you log off from your work, you still may have to go back home, make dinner for your family, take care of your children, do their home, help them with their homework, and tuck them in. This juggling between the work and the demands, meeting the demands of home and office, can definitely be stressful. And we in Indian culture, women especially are curated to be the primary caretaker for their family. So we really need to talk to our partners about it, so that this whole scenario of women being the caretaker, the main caretaker of the family, gets changed, and the partner also shares responsibilities with us. We also can talk to our children where they help us, they understand what our responsibilities are, and support us in taking care of both our professional as well as our work life. Also, we can also outsource some of our tasks if we feel that our plates are completely full. uh, it is also very important for us to take it easy sometimes. The perfectionist in us sometimes does not let us to take things light and take things easy. Don't let your perfectionist come up all the time. It's okay, things will fall into place by itself. Last but not the least, the tip that I would like to give towards work life balance is that if you're passionate and if you love your job, you just need to enjoy the journey, and you just need to cherish every moment of it. I think that should uh, settle with keeping the work and life in harmony rather than in taking them at each sides and trying to balance work and life.
So I think Ashati is actually, capsulated the whole essence of how to kind of juggle being a parent and being a professional, right? I just want to add to the point that she made about how the Indian culture levies the primary responsibility of taking care of the family on the women, right? I think there's been a world of a change that is slowly and gradually happening in that direction, but it'll take a few more generations to come for that equality in terms of responsibility of parenting, coming into play. But I think a message that I sort of personally want to kind of put across is the fact that um, communication and conversation is actually the key to resolving many issues, not just this, right? So it's important for us to have a conversation with our spouse, and in turn also have our spouses understand without being asked for that help and support is needed, because there's a bigger agenda and a bigger, reasoning to this whole idea of people having a career, irrespective of gender, right? All of us kind of want to have a better quality of life, better elevated standards of living, um, you know, uh, safety and security in terms of, inflow of income, right? And that's only possible when we kind of address and understand the problem more holistically rather than it being addressed in silos. And it becomes even more important when the whole family structure comes into picture as against a single individual. So I think conversation with the spouse, understanding as a family is extremely crucial to address this challenge, where what looks like, a real balancing and juggling act that Ashwati mentioned should not really, get to that point. If there is that true understanding, acceptance, and compatibility between, the partners. So I think parenting is daunting on its own. It need not be so if there is an open dialogue between the partners.
Thank you so much for your insights, Shipra. It was really amazing. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. It's been a pleasure, and I would like to thank you, amazing ladies, for showing up today. And it was really, really insightful. I'm taking a lot of knowledge from today's show, right? Pleasure having you all, and let's hopefully we have another episode like this again. So, with that, I'll see you on another episode. Until then, ciao. This is Akshay Adesh signing off.